Personal responsibility. What does that mean? What does it mean to you? You know, we hear terms like that culturally all the time, and we never really take a few moments to take a breath. What does that mean? And, you know, we think externally, we're in the age of Mapo, this epoch, this time period of 10,000 years, where everything we consider is outside of ourselves. So stop for a moment and think, what does responsibility mean to me, for me, from me? I know I'm asking a lot, but I think it's important as we study, read the words of sutras, of expedient means, listen to Nichiren's, translations of Nichiren's words, which is, in large measure, I want you to get this, because if you get this, then no matter how poorly translated Shakyamuni's teachings are via any author, Shakyamuni's truths, Tendai's efforts to recover those truths, any great bodhisattva's efforts, Dengyo, Miaolo, Nichiren certainly, our mentor. What do these words actually mean? I've been saying recently, I've been trying to really galvanize this idea of mandala being one thing and Gohonzon being something completely other, though they're intimately related, of course, just as your body, your organs, your brain, your visual mechanism, your samsaric consciousnesses are intimate with your mind and the ability of your mind to perceive far more than just your internals, your body, as it were. The mistake we make is thinking that whatever's in this body is distinct from what isn't in this body. And that's the primary illusion. We miss it. So in that context, what is responsibility? As we read the words of Buddhism, it's important to note, for instance, that this Buddhism was taught as an oral tradition, to memorize and to vocalize as a training for one's self. Right? How much of the sutras, especially the prose portions, which are the highly memorizable sermons themselves, with all of the concepts of the sermon, bam, badam, 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 are written in the first person, I. Right? In Gangyo, I think to myself every moment of the day, how can I help others achieve what I am achieving? The teaching itself is self-directed. The only time it talks about others is inspirationally, aspirationally, not without first accomplishing oneself. And I submit to you, this is the very essence of responsibility. As a human being, are we not responsible for taking care of ourselves? As a human being, are we not then, as we take care of ourselves, extending the self to include those around us? If we only take care of ourselves, but we forsake all those around us, in other words, hold back our experiences of success with food, shelter, sex, happiness, and we specifically hold those back from everyone else, don't we ourselves feel selfish? And aren't we also in that selfishness lacking? Lacking the very support that we need as human beings, because we're not solipsistic, we're not alone in the world, we're not individually, hermetically sealed units of life. That's only part of what we are. We are much more than that, and that includes those around us. That's not a religious act. That's not making up for anything. That's just being a human being, isn't it? Why do I say this? As much as we talk about the slow disappearance of the domain of religions, monotheism, all throughout the planet, it's still very integrated into cultural norms. And all of the media that were from commercials on soda pop companies to alcohol, to cars, to groups, to corporations, to you name it. Television shows, movies, it's underlying the rhetoric all the time. This idea that somehow each one of us is lacking, right? Or each one of us is naturally bad. And that somehow only by subservient throwing ourselves at the feet of authority, because we don't have any. We're too stupid to have authority. Think responsibility here. If you don't have authority over your life, you've given up. Your life is yours to be the authority. If you don't have authority, then why do you bother doing anything? Just wait. Wait for someone to feed you, to wipe your ass, to sniffle you. What? Are you a vegetable? See, this is the great lie, the great device. Right? Of politics, of religion. If you can convince people that they're basically just stupid organisms who would die if it were not for the good graces of somebody else, then you can hold dominion over them. It's called authoritarianism. So your whole life becomes about atoning. What are you doing over there? Oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm so stupid. Tell me what to do. That's what we become. A mere husk of humanity. It's pathetic. Shakyamuni couldn't tolerate it. Siddhartha Gautama looked around and thought, this is disgusting. Even with every derivation of Brahmanism and Hinduism and all this mysticism, all designed to just occupy the minds of perfectly good human beings, now stripped of dignity, stripped of responsibility. Oh, you can screw up all you want. Just say, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll give you a pass. You can be another week. You can try to feed yourself. What a pathetic state of affairs. And here's true Buddhism. What the core of Buddhism is about is saying no. See your life with absolute dignity, because the why, the how, the reason for being, the value of life, it's all contained within you. Nobody can give it to you or take it away. Gohonzon is your mind. You own it. Use it. Be in it. Be fully absorbed in your life, moment to moment. All of it is there. No one can give it to you. Only you can take it. Take it as given, as explorable, as instantiatable, manifest to Buddhahood. Do it. It's yours. Don't wait. Every story in the sutras, in the commentaries, is about this discovery. Why does it have to be discovered? It should just be there. Well, it is. But the discovery is your samsaric mind blinded by all of this rhetoric and stupidity, paid off by greed. Now you can have this, you can have that. Oh, look, gold star. Woo! Aren't you a better person? No. You're already the ultimate. Take responsibility for that. Oh, what did you just say? Yeah. Take responsibility for your Buddha-ness. You know why? Because when you falter, we all do. It's part of the human experience. When you falter, you don't need somebody going, you screwed up. Shut up. I know when I've screwed up. And nobody is going to be more incisive witness, inspirational, motivational than my own criticism. Right? You have people berating you and calling you names all day. And you can make that hurtful. But it's when you call yourself out that, oof, man, I need to do better. Screw you telling me I screwed up. I know if I screwed up or not. What do you know? Right? We know. Take responsibility. Those of you who've been exposed to the Zange, that Buddhist prayer, which I've changed the words of because it disgusts me. But the idea of self-reflection in Zange, of reestablishing our understanding that we are responsible, that the world around us is a mirror expressing where we may be succeeding and faltering. And so when we're struggling, this Buddhist meditation, not prayer, of Zange, which you can get a copy of on Cafe Press, just like the Mandala, is about reaffirming our status, our responsibility for our happiness, for our success, for our humanity, our dignity. Because if you don't have any dignity for yourself, how are you offering it to anyone else or helping them achieve it? This is Buddhism, not religion. Religion is about control. And how does religion control? Like capitalism? Capitalism not itself as a mechanism, but the way it's utilized politically, right? You make people feel inferior, therefore indebted to your promise that you're going to give them something more. Screw you. You can't give me anything. All my humanity and dignity is contained right here. in my mind. It's mine. It's the same reason somebody can go, oh, here's Buddhahood, here's Buddhahood. If you pay me enough money, or you do enough tricks, do 3 somersaults, I'll give you your Buddhahood. Get the hell. Now, I'm greatly simplifying this, I grant you. But that's the situation. That's the situations with these memberships and clubs and groups and sects. There is only one Buddhism, my friends. It is your Buddha. Your ability to have the ultimate dignity, responsibility, and therefore, if you have all the responsibility, you have all the accomplishment. You sense the entire engine of life in and for yourself as you glow and radiate this Buddha-ness into your environment, which reflects it. This symbiosis, this unity, right? Nobody can hand you that. Any more than you could say, I want to be a great tennis player. Oh, here, I have a bucket of that. Here, now you're a great tennis player. Would you? It sounds like nonsense, doesn't it? That's the basis of every expletive deleted religion on the planet. Oh, you don't know what's good for you. Oh, there it is in the rhetoric. I'm telling you, it's ingrained everywhere in societies and cultures. It's for your own good. Yeah, it irritates me to no end. And I want you to understand this deeply as we read through these incredible documents about Buddhism, because Gohonzon is that total personal responsibility. Gohonzon is the ultimate dignity of life, not just yours, all life. Because it is the realization of that very thing, the engine of life, the actual formations of what we call life. I was listening to a video on astronomy, cosmology. I'm not going to say his name because I think he's very educated. I like listening and watching his videos. But he said something that's one of those damn cliches, and it upset me. And you hear it all the time. Is there life on other planets? Right? You've heard that. Is Earth the only place where life exists? We're searching on the Martian surface for indications that once upon a time life existed. And see, to me, that's more evidence of how inculcated into the cultural mind this authoritarianism, this lack of understanding of what life is, it's built in. This egocentric, we're humans, we're life. Everything else, not life. What arrogance. What small-mindedness. Life? Life? Where is it? It is everywhere. The universe itself is life. Our sentient minds, that's unique. Because our sentient minds has the potential to realize that life is everywhere. That Earth and you and I would not exist were it not for Andromeda, for Polaris, the moon, galaxies, our solar system. How would you exist if not for all these other things? We're just part of life. Oh no, life is just on Earth. We don't know if it's anywhere else in the universe. Oh, we don't know how big it is, but this is the only place where life is. Wow. Namo Myo Renge Kyo, friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting this resource. Like, subscribe. It's Bodhisattva work. It helps this Sangha grow. It helps propagate the teachings of Nichiren and Buddhism. Thank you for that. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, patrons, either on Patreon or PayPal, or purchasing ebooks off threefoldlotus.com, or mandalas or the Zange off cafepress.com, or lulu.com, the library of books there if you like print books. Everything you can do to support this channel, including simply subscribing, is immensely important to the growth of this resource, yeah? And your practice. So let's continue. We're reading through the book Nichiren on Mandala and Gohonzon, a gathering of Nichiren's writings specific to this idea of mandala versus Gohonzon. How are they related? How are they different? Right? And so we'll continue here. Nichiren has been trying to awaken all the people of Japan to strong resolve in the Myoho Renge Kyo so that they too can share the heritage and attain Buddhahood. This heritage of Buddha-ness. Again, it's English translation, right? What does the heritage means? It means hanging on to the dignity of life. It doesn't disappear and reappear. Right? Again, Earth is not the only place where life exists in the universe. The universe is life. That is the heritage. Thinking that life only exists in little spots of humanness, and then within those humans, only the capable humans can be life. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but this is what we do. Like when people use the different realms as labels for people. Nonsense. Life is ongoing at the speed of causality, right? 300 million meters per second. However fast that is. That's how quickly, moment to moment, we are being. And that's happening everywhere. Everywhere. And I mean everywhere. So when we say inherit the heritage of Buddhism, what we're really saying is waking up to a pre-existing condition, your dignity, your Buddha-ness. That awakening, that aha, that renge moment is Gohonzon. But instead they have persecuted me in various ways and finally had me banished to this island. Who are you to take all our power away, right? Of course they hated Nichiren. Who hated Nichiren? The authoritarians. You're giving people dignity. You're making them think they're in control of their own life. Get the hell out of here. We've got them paying taxes and subservient to them. We've got them scared shitless. And you come in here and you tell them there's no difference between us, that they can control their own lives. Get the heck out of here. Right? Of course they hated Nichiren. You're screwing up our game. Is that any different in medieval Japan than it is today? Hello? Why do you think we have things like the Arab Spring or Occupy Wall Street, resistance of all sorts all over the world? You can argue whether it's successful or not, whether the powers that be squelched them over time. I wouldn't disagree with you. But understand what the nature of the battle is. And if that doesn't motivate you, well, chant. You have followed Nichiren, however, and met with suffering as a result. Yeah, it's a struggle when you got to overturn this nasty state of affairs. But that doesn't mean you're not succeeding. You should take courage in that. I must be doing something right. Yeah, when you look at obstacles in your life from that perspective, oh, it becomes very validating. Isn't that what Nichiren constantly talks about his own life as an example for us? It pains me deeply to think of your anguish. I don't like to see you suffering any more than I like to suffer. It pains me more as a responsible, dignified human being to see you suffering because it shows the frailty of my own dignity and humanity. You see the relationship, the responsibility? Gold can be neither burned by fire nor corroded or swept away by water, but iron is vulnerable to both. What does that mean? Be the gold that you are. Don't see yourself as iron. You'll just rust away. A worthy person is like gold. A person who accepts their own dignity and responsibility is like gold. A fool is like iron. Somebody who waits to be told. An authoritarian. I don't want to use the word victim because I hate that word. Because that's a self-imposed thing. And that's why Nichiren says, if that's the attitude you adopt, then you're like iron. You're just going to wither away and rust. You are like pure gold because you embrace the gold of the Lotus Sutra, of the Myoho Renge-kyo. How encouraging is that? Profound. If you understand the meaning. The sutra states, quote, just as among all the mountains, Mount Sumeru is foremost, so this Lotus Sutra is likewise, end quote. It also states, quote, the good fortune you gain thereby cannot be burned by fire or washed away by water. Be golden, my friends. How do you be golden? Chant, recite, understand the profound nature of the dignity of life, your moment-to-moment experience of the engine of life. Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. It must be ties of karma from the distant past that have destined you to become my disciples at this time. Shakyamuni and many treasures certainly realize this truth. The sutra's statements, those, quote, persons who had heard the law dwell here and their various Buddha lands, constantly reborn in company with their teachers, end quote, cannot be false in any way. When you attain your dignity, the responsibility for your dignity is no longer an effort. You're simply manifesting it, and it is mirrored in your environment. So if your environment isn't looking so hot for you right now, don't worry. It's just an obstacle validating that there's a wall for you to break down. Ha! Ha! You have no power over me. Boom! Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. I will get through you to my ultimate experience of life, my dignity, my responsibility. I will take responsibility and I will burst right through this obstacle. Whatever it takes. Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. If it takes unpleasantness, then I will minimize that unpleasantness until I cleanse myself of it. Namo Myoho Renge-kyo. There's a deep conviction it takes to do that, doesn't it? What a magnificent opportunity. How admirable that you have asked about the transmission of the ultimate law of life and death. I have never heard of anyone who has asked such a question. I have answered in complete detail in this letter, so please take it deeply to heart. The important point is to carry out your practice confident that Namo Myoho Renge Kyo alone is the heritage that was transferred from Shakyamuni and many treasures to Bodhisattva superior practices. That this is the way. This is the way to instantiate Gohonzon mind, instantiate your ultimate dignity and responsibility and fulfillment of the engine of life, moment to moment. Be in it. The function of fire is to burn and give light. The function of water is to wash away filth. The winds blow away dust and breathe life into plants, animals, and human beings. The earth produces the grasses and trees, and heaven provides nourishing moisture, the skies, the atmosphere. The 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo are also like that. Natural processes. They are the cluster of rewards brought by the bodhisattvas of the earth, disciples of the Buddha in his true identity. What is the true identity of Buddha? You ought to know by now. The engine of life. That is Buddha. Realizing it with our sentient minds, that is Gohonzon. The Lotus Sutra says that Bodhisattva superior practice will appear now in the latter day of the law to propagate this teaching, but has this happened? Wink, wink. Whether or not Bodhisattva superior practices has appeared in this world, Nichiren has already made a start in propagating this teaching. Ooh, clever. Right? Nichiren has often reminded us that he identifies with Bodhisattva superior practice. He's not saying he's a reincarnation of, because Bodhisattva superior practices was never a human. It was part of the story of the Lotus Sutra, indicating a future to be born of the earth Bodhisattva and a leader of those Bodhisattvas. In other words, the one to take action to inspire others to do the same. Well, ain't that Nichiren? So Nichiren is embodying the spirit of the teaching of the Lotus Sutra. That's down to earth. That's human to human. You don't need any mysticism or magic here. It's very obvious. Take on the persona, in other words, of dignity and responsibility, of being the ultimate human experience of life, a Buddha. And since you live in this experience of life, coursing through it as a bodhisattva, that is what a bodhisattva is. Someone who runs their life, day to day, moment to moment, exists with Gohonzon, open, experiencing, understanding, seeing with Buddha, the engine of life. Be resolved to summon forth the great power of strong resolve and chant Namo Myoho Renge Kyo with the chanting that your strong resolve will be steadfast and correct at the moment of death. In other words, every single moment you are alive. Not a conventional death as in the end of life, but as a succeeding moment of being alive. Myoho, 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 moment to moment, moment to moment. Myoho, myoho, myoho. Birth, all the same thing. So that as this moment comes to a close, boom, Buddhahood next moment. Boom, Buddhahood next moment. With that dignity, responsibility, existing, course through this physical world as a bodhisattva, someone constantly aware of Buddha-ness, the engine of life. Never seek any other way to inherit the ultimate law of life and manifest it in your life. Only then will you realize that earthly desires are enlightenment, that this land is the Buddha land. All of the rhetoric you want to assign to it, that's, again, he's reminding you that being in samsara, this state of awareness in physicality, is a way to know the entire process of life, the engine of life. We don't burn down the warehouse of identification. We simply put it in its right perspective. It's far more amazing then than as a set of attachments and bewilderments, trying to find who we are in them. That's not who we are. We are the engine of life. And that the sufferings of birth and death are nirvana. The sufferings of birth and death are the attachment in the moment to moment. This is me, this is me, this is me. The ego. But if we see that process and detach from it, that's the nirvana. That's the renge. That's the moment of Gohonzon. Make sense? Even embracing the Lotus Sutra would be useless without the heritage of strong resolve. You can study the Lotus Sutra. You could read the Lotus Sutra, the entire thing, the Threefold Lotus Sutra, right? The opening chapters, the 28 chapters, the closing chapter. You could read that every day. But if you don't understand, if you don't commit, actualize the actual dignity and responsibility of your Buddha-ness, then there is no Gohonzon. So therefore, of what use is it? I will go into particulars again on another occasion with my deep respect Nichiren, the Shramana of Japan. 1272, 10 years before he passed away. This is a reply to the Honorable Sarenbo. Right? Next up, we'll save that for the next video, reply to Kyo-o. Here Nichiren writes specifically about the mandala to attain the Gohonzon of Buddhahood. So another exercise of scrutiny and identification of what is the purpose, the use of the mandala, which in the parlance of Nichiren is the daimoku, and Gohonzon, which is enlightenment, albeit within the human mind. That's the only place it exists, Gohonzon. This is why it's such a specific thing and identified by Nichiren as this aha, from here to here. Namu Myo Renge Kyo. Right? But the characters and all of the teachings they represent, that's mandala. Those are the tools with which your samsaric human existence can enlighten that mind, that emergent mind, to experience the engine of life. But you do that yourself. Nobody does that for you. They can't. It's your mind. You control it. By the way, how many times has he said, take control of your mind. Do not let your mind, in other words, the plethora of authoritarianism in the world, take control of you. Because they will never represent the total you. Their authoritarianism is about them getting what they want from you. Why would you choose that? feed yourself. Don't be food. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. Dignity, self-respect, not at the expense of others, for others, as a shining example of the engine of life. Others, your environment, quote unquote, should be inspired by your presence, not cower down, not servile. Radical thinking. Amazing he lived over 80 years to teach this to others. I mean, many have been slaughtered for less. Many stories about that. All right, that's enough for today. Thank you so much, primarily for your practice, for having the courage to fully experience life. And as such, be such a powerful example to those around you. You don't even have to focus on that. It's just going to happen. Just be. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. All right? So in that respect, stay healthy. Take care of yourself. Be smart. Right? Know when it's the time to speak out and the time to shut up. Recognize the dignity of the life that you are. That's an important responsibility. Don't take it lightly. Commit to it. Okay? Thanks again. Supporters, like, subscribe. Get ebooks or print books. Support this channel. Support your practice. And I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye for now.